This is episode number 89 of Hebrews in Exile with our honorable teacher, Robert B. Holman Jr. and Sean Appleton. And in this particular podcast, we're going to talk about commercialized holidays that are non-Hebraic and how we are to function in them in the midst of our exile. We're also going to talk about the awakening of Hebrew Israel. This is an exciting time to watch Hebrew Israel finally start waking up and acknowledging the Most High so we can begin our turn back to the mitzvot and in right standing. Without any further ado, you know what we do. Hebrews in Exile. Let's go.
You make everything right.
This is Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr. and
Sean Appleton.
And this is Hebrews in Exile. Boy.
Yes, sir.
Man.
Yeah.
Brother. Friend.
Yes, sir.
Buddy.
Yeah.
We are in the midst of probably one of the finest times that has affected Hebrew Israel in, I don't know when.
Yeah.
I think it's the first.
Yeah, I don't want to steal your thunder. I think I know where you're going with this one, but okay.
I mean, the dam broke open with that Hebrews to Negro documentary.
Yeah.
And it's been rolling, not downhill, but it's been rolling uphill ever since.
It's getting some traction.
Oh, yeah, it's got some traction.
And the funny thing is that particular documentary came out, 2019, 2018, something. So it's been around for a while.
Which is to say this. The Most High does everything in His timing.
Oh, yeah.
It's His timing.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And I don't care what anybody says or does, it's within His timing. Now, but before I get there, I want to address another issue. We'll come back to this.
Oh, all right.
We are in the midst of the holiday season. And for people who are Hebraic, it can be problematic in terms of things that go on within your jobs and within the confines of your personal families and what have you. Mm-hmm. I want to address that.
Okay, that's good. Yeah,
and I wish we'd have done this earlier because we're on the precipice of a national day. I don't know that I can call it a pagan day, but it's a national day.
Yeah, it is a national day. You are right about that.
Called Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Hebraically, we celebrated Thanksgiving the 7 days or the 8 days of Sukkot.
Mm-hmm.
That was our season of ingathering and our season of giving thanks and giving the Most High thanks for bringing us, through another time and another season. And we had food and what have you. But this thing, Thanksgiving, has become somewhat of a thorn in many of our Hebrew brethren and sisters' side because they don't know how to deal with it. I had a dear sister text me the other night because she was conflicted because her family wanted her to participate in her job and what have you. They've got all these things going on. And while it's true that we don't celebrate nor do we worship, and that's the key.
Yeah.
The key is worship.
Mm-hmm.
We don't celebrate and we don't worship these days. Worship. We don't give homage to these days.
Correct.
We don't give praise and thanks for these days.
Correct.
However, when you sit at your table every evening to eat your dinner,
mm-hmm.
we were raised with giving thanks.
Correct. No, absolutely.
for the food that's been prepared and so forth and so on. So giving thanks is a routine that happens within the confines of a majority of homes.
Okay.
A few years ago, if you remember, young lady got upset with me because I was going to have dinner on this day, but I don't know what she was upset about.
Gotta eat.
I have dinner every night.
Right.
So just because the day says Thanksgiving doesn't mean that I stop having dinner.
Oh, you're going to eat anyway.
And I don't stop giving thanks. Now, the problem arises with the fact that we have carried this thing so far in trying to escape idolatry that we think that we have to shut up in our houses and not do anything on these national days. But I want to tell you something. And I told the congregation this many years ago. It's another day. Just happens to be a day that it's a national holiday. Just happens to be a day when our families gather to fellowship with each other and simply eat some good food.
That's it. Fellowshipping and eating.
Now, I'd just be doggone
Yes, sir.
if I'm going to shelter up in my house and I know that my family got a spread of collard greens and cornbread and mac and cheese and some good turkey and some good food and some sweet potato pie and and all that and you know, and all that good food, and I'm gonna sit at home
And not eat?
That ain't gonna happen.
Or go out and get you something that you nuh-uh.
Or I'm gonna go to Mimi's
Yeah, no.
by
that ain't-
myself.
No.
Come on, people. I want you to have some common sense. The one thing that being Hebraic that we don't want to do is to isolate our families from us because we're walking in a different dynamic of truth. And the question has got to be this. And this has always got to be the fore. You stumble over things like this because you don't know the mitzvahs.
Yeah.
And the question on the table has got to be one.
Yeah.
What mitzvah is being broken by you fellowshipping with your family and eating some good food? What?
None. I don't know of one
Well,
that says
it's an idolatrous day. Well,
okay.
and
What idol is being glorified that day?
exactly.
And actually, this is probably a good segue for me, but go ahead.
Roll.
I think part of the problem that people have, and even I'm going to speak globally because you've spoken from a standpoint from, as you should, Ambassador Holman, my eldest statesman, that from a Hebraic standpoint. Now, I actually did some research on what Thanksgiving is. I'm going to ask some remedial questions because I know how I was raised. And this is only my next piece that I'm getting ready to get into. My dissertation is systemic to all those that are in the United States, or all those, because this is a date that is germane to citizens of the United States on how we celebrate it here. So to add some clarification on what this day actually is and what it's about. As probably you were, and I was taught that Thanksgiving was about what? Why are we assembling?
The pilgrims.
Because of the Pilgrims.
The Pilgrims.
The Pilgrims and the Indians.
And the Indians.
The Mayflower arrived in 1620.
Yeah, in grammar school, we all dressed up like pilgrims, and we had a play, and and what have you. Gee, Maurice.
Right. So the issue is that a lot of people that are on the internet are saying a lot of things about Thanksgiving, but I want to talk about Thanksgiving in the United States that happens on a specific day. Now, this is what that was about. Pilgrims and Indians. They arrived on the Mayflower. They had a big old feast together. They shared recipes and secrets and how to make corn and all that kind of stuff. And it was a big old hugging session that day. Unbeknownst to me, this is what Thanksgiving is about. Thanksgiving in the United States happens every fourth Thursday in the month of November. That is by design. And the reason why it's by design is because President Lincoln signed the Thanksgiving Proclamation on October 3rd, 1863. Why is 1863 a year that you should remember? And actually, it was drafted by a man named, I think his first name is either Warren or William, but either which way, let's just say it's Warren Seward, was the Secretary of State at that particular time. And what happened was President Lincoln signed this proclamation into being into the United States. Now, it was signed saying these words: we have gotten to the point as Americans where we have now finished the Civil War. The Civil War is over. We're going to move forward as a country, moving into a time of tranquility and peace, putting the Civil War behind us. Everybody knows what the Civil War was about.
Yeah.
So now that the Civil War is over, the Union has prevailed over the Confederate Army, and Jeffrey Davis, who was the president of the Confederate Army at that time, it doesn't say this particular part in the proclamation, but that's what that was about. We're going to move forward as a country. And every fourth Thursday in the month of November will be designated as a day of Thanksgiving to commemorate us moving out of the Civil War.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, wait a minute. Just hold your point right there. Hold your point right there. Listeners, I went to grammar school.
Mm-hmm.
I went to junior high school.
Mm-hmm.
I went to junior college.
Mm-hmm.
I went to college. I studied history, which I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
But I ain't never heard that story.
Yeah, you can go look it up. It's called the Thanksgiving Proclamation, was signed into order in the United States.
I never heard that story.
October 3rd, 1863. What else happened in 1863? January 1st, the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect. Same year. Now, ask yourself the question.
Well, I'll be doggone.
This is more about, now listen to this. Every holiday in the United States, we have, or I should say this, there's one dedicated to something major that happened in the United States except the Civil War.
Independence Day?
Independence Day is what? July 4th.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. You also have Memorial Day for a military day, but you don't have one for the Civil War. This is the one for the Civil War. Being over with, we give Thanksgiving because it's over and we're moving forward now as a country. Now, do you think it's by design that they didn't tell you what that was really about? See, it's some people that I believe that was in the South that when he signed that into the order, said, I'm not celebrating a day where you're going to celebrate my loss, where these Negroes that we getting ready to let go of was making me money. Since we on the issue, you open with Kyrie.
Hey.
I'm not going to celebrate that day. You don't have any glorification of what that was really about because there's politics involved with it.
Yeah.
So let's make it about something neutral. About the Pilgrims and the Indians and how we give thanks.
Wow.
So listen to this. If they are willing to covertly tell you that American history is screwed up, what makes you think they're going to tell you about your Hebraicness?
Wow.
In its totality.
Doggone it. I'm gonna get full on Thanksgiving. I'm gonna be thankful for a different reason.
For a different reason.
Man.
Because
are you hearing this? Are you all hearing this? And this is information that you can research yourself.
Look it up. October 3rd, 1863. I think his name is William Seward, or maybe Warren Seward, was the Secretary of State. Abraham Lincoln signed it into existence. That is the reason why in the United States, that's why I said this is germane to the United States. That every fourth Thursday, no one asked the question, why do we celebrate Thanksgiving on every fourth Thursday in the month of November? Because it's called the Thanksgiving Proclamation that was instituted.
Wow.
And it was everything to do with the Civil War.
Well, educate me. Grasshopper.
So don't feel like, oh, okay, you actually have a little bit more of a connection with it than you think. But again, getting back to your point, let's come back full circle, because this is what we're here, Hebrews in exile. There's no mitzvot that's being broken.
No.
There's nothing but education and fellowshipping with your family.
Right. And don't kick your family to the curb for, wow.
Yeah. This is something that we can share with other individuals, our family that's there, to say, listen, we are, have matriculated into thinking about Juneteenth and June 19th for when the last slaves actually found out that they were free in 1865.
Right.
June 19th.
Right.
So we kind of get away from, the 1776 July 4th thing, because you were still a slave for almost 90 years before you actually got released in 1863. So for us, again, it's by design in this country, the way things are set up the way they are. And the only thing that you can do if you're having issues with it is education. Education about the particular day and how it's made up.
Wow.
But once you do a little bit of research, even if you get into it and you say, okay, what's the real reason why we're meeting? There's nothing that's Hebraically being violated. So you're still good.
So shut the front door. As one of my friends would say. Shut the front door.
Yeah, but go look it up.
Man.
Yeah, go look it up.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, though, we come off of the heels of this National Day, and it's interesting that we get into another day that's called what's Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa, yeah. Kwanzaa. It's right along there in or we call December, but yeah, Kwanzaa.
But I'm thinking here that when I go back in text and I look at the beginning right after Sukkot, in the end of the first week in October, right after Sukkot, the Moshe and the children of Israel began building the tabernacle.
They sure did. They did.
And when you look at the meticulous craftsmanship that's in that tabernacle, that Bezalel, who was the general contractor, this was a young man,
right,
a young lad, built and put together all or made all the pieces that go to the tabernacle. That tabernacle was erected shortly around this time.
Yes, sir.
Now, we move from this national holiday to a pagan holiday.
Yeah, the big one.
The big elephant in the room.
Yeah, the big one at the end of it.
That centers around the solstice. What is it? I'm trying to think.
The winter solstice.
The winter solstice.
Yeah,
yeah. And you go look that up and study that out. Now that's the big one.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into that because we need to kind of touch on that too.
That's the big one that we stay away from. However, I'm going to come back to the issue so you don't have an ought with it. Mm-hmm. I don't buy Christmas presents. Mm-hmm. I don't accept Christmas presents. Mm-hmm. But my family is still Christian, and they do Christmas trees and Christmas.
Uh-huh.
But they also cook some good food.
Right. Gotta eat.
I'm not going to miss no good food over no tree. Mm-hmm. I'm not going there to worship the tree. Mm-hmm. I'm not going there to worship St. Nick.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go eat me some good food. Please, people.
Well, you know what? Let me ask you this. This might be a poignant question that your expertise can and lend some wisdom to individuals on. Address the issue. Okay, we're around the table. All the spread is laid out. Someone prays, and then they praying, and you know whose name over this food. So go ahead.
And maybe in your families it does, but when I'm there, they ask me to pray.
Okay.
And you know what I'm going to do?
Right.
You know whose name I'm going to pray in?
Yes, that's true. That's true. But I'm just saying, say for instance, somebody's not in that situation.
Yeah.
And they're around their family.
Yeah.
And we at Big Mama's house.
Yeah.
And Big Mama's going to have either Big Daddy or her say a few words.
Yeah.
And they praying over this food. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that somebody might have some apprehensions about that. What would you tell them?
What I tell them? Mm-hmm. I tell them, it don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing. Do up. It don't mean nothing.
Okay. And
it doesn't mean anything because in the eyes of the Most High, He doesn't recognize that name.
Okay.
So they just praying.
Right. Yeah, and I don't think that you can.
And
go ahead.
And me, since I'm not in that situation, but I've been in situations where I have prayed in the name of Yahweh and the person in the name of Jesus.
Oh, they come behind you and say that
in the name of Jesus. I said, well, okay, but you know, that's your understanding, and you have the right and you have the privilege to go with your understanding. That doesn't affect me at all. I know where I am. I know what I believe. And the Most High knows what I believe. And He knows that I'm not there to worship no dude with a white beard.
Okay.
And no. Oh my goodness. If they only knew how the ornaments of the tree came to be.
We here. Come on. We here. Educate them.
If they only knew how the ornaments on the tree came to be. They weren't pretty.
Yeah, there's a deeper story that's there.
But I'm gonna let you all investigate that.
Right. We'll probably do something on it when we get closer.
Because most Hebrews in exile that are following the way know that Easter and Christmas are pagan holidays.
Sure. You have to know that. Yeah.
Pagan holiday. And then when New Year's rolls around, it's just another day.
That's true too.
And it's not our New Year.
It sure isn't. That's the weirdest thing for me in the world, to have the New Year happen in the dead of winter. Spring is when new life comes around. You would think the new year would start then, but
it's not our New Year.
Right.
But once again, If the family gonna gather for some food on New Year's, and they got a pot of gumbo,
without all that sea trash
wait,
in the air.
wait. If they know who you are, they will respect where you are.
Granted, very good.
I mean, last year, I was invited to New Year's dinner at some people's house because they wanted me to come. And the people who they asked to invite me told them, well, you know, Robert doesn't eat da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So they said, well, we want you to come, but we're fixing a special gumbo for you.
For you, okay.
That doesn't have all that in it.
All right. Very good.
Now, come on, people. Don't get caught up in the association of people and being with people who do what you don't do. They have the right to do that. They're your friends. They're your family. How are you going to win them if you avoid them? And if they don't have a deeper understanding as to why it is that you don't do what you do, you can take them to texts, particularly if they're Christians, take them to texts. And they will take you across the street where they says, well, Scripture says all things are to be eaten with all foods are to be eaten with thanksgiving. And the problem with that is
that word all.
Well, no, that's not the all. It's the problem with they don't understand the writer that's writing that knows what food is.
Yeah.
He ain't got.
Agreed.
He's talking to a people who know the difference between trash and food.
Correct. What's clean and unclean.
What's clean and what's not unclean. So he's not going through the narrative of that text across the street. Well, we're supposed to eat all foods giving Thanksgiving. Well, he knows what food is. But he's not going through the narrative to explain it in that text because he's talking to Hebrew people. And this is the problem with the text across the street. It's mixed up. One time it's talking to the nations, next time it's Hebrew people, next time it's something else, and you don't know, unless you know text, you don't know who the writer's talking to or what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So once again, on the 25th of December, I'm not calling it that, on the 25th of December, I've got to eat. I'm not going to Mimi's.
Oh yeah, I got to eat too.
I'm not going to get me a hamburger.
I'm gonna make sure I'm not fast that day.
I'm not going to go get a hamburger, going to go eat at Mimi's when I know good and well there's some cornbread, there's some mac and cheese, there's some collard greens, and there's some fried chicken, and there may be some barbecue beef ribs, and there may be something else there that I can eat that's good, and I'm just because it's a day?
Right.
It's a day, people. It's just a day. That the nations have put a title on it that you and I don't observe, and we don't. Now, the optimum word in there is worship. Worship. I don't bring honor to this day. I don't bring any honor to this day.
Agreed. Totally agreed. You know,
am I going to?
You're not participating in it.
Now. Am I going to be merry? Oh yeah, because I'm going to drink some wine. I'm going to be merry. But my merriness has got nothing to do with the merriness of the day.
Correct.
It's the same merry that I have when I eat at home, and I have a glass of wine with my food.
That's right.
Or it's the same merry that I have when I go to an expensive steakhouse and I order a glass of wine I have some Mary.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
come on. You got to keep it within the context of where you are, and not worry about your surroundings and people that are around you. I'm going to say this, and we're going to switch to another subject.
Okay.
Love your family. You need your family. Your family needs you. What happens when you get sick? and you've ostracized your family. And there ain't a Hebrew around. And I'm going to tell you, we Hebrews got a problem.
We do.
Because we ain't going to show up to help you. Unless you're part of a congregation of people, you're going to be dependent upon your family.
That's right. That's right.
Love your family. Walk this Hebraic life out in their presence. You never know when they're going to turn. And remember something else. Joseph was sold into slavery.
That he was.
And he wound up in Mitzrayim, but his family wasn't there.
Nope.
But he was the storehouse. He had the key to food. And his family had to come to him to get food.
Yeah, became the viceroy of Mitzrayim.
They had to come to him to get food. Now, while they had to come to Joseph to get natural food, they're going to have to come to you to get spiritual food when the famine for the word of the Most High is at its zenith. You'll be well equipped to be able to feed your family truth, the food of the Most High that will save their lives.
I like that.
So don't blow them off. Joseph didn't blow his brothers off. And they did him dirty.
Yes, they did.
They did him dirty. But he didn't blow them off.
Nope. No.
He fed his family. And not only did he feed his family, he fed all Israel. Just a thought.
Just some food for thought.
Exactly. Now, let's get back to the matter of what we're confronted with here with this whole idea of what's going on with this Hebrews to Negroes.
Yes, please.
What I hear, I hear Ezekiel chapter 37. Now, you have to go there if you're not familiar with it, although when I tell you, because we were all raised with this, and it's common, because the preacher used to get on this, and I want to tell you about
he hooping on this,
about the neck bone, the head bone connecting to the neck bone, and the neck bone connecting to the shoulder bone, and the shoulder bone connecting to the arm bone, and I heard the bone say, and hear the word of the Lord, and I heard the ankle bone connecting to the knee bone and the leg bone, and all these bones. I hear a rattling in the wilderness. I hear dry bones. You see, we were raised on that.
Woo! See how you can turn that on and turn it off?
Oh, I can turn it on, turn it off. Exactly. We were all raised on that.
On that teaching. Yeah.
But now, if you allow me to read a little bit, and those of you that are listening, you go get your scriptures and turn with me to Ezekiel chapter 37.
Excellent.
And
we're starting at 1? Where we starting?
No, we're going to start at 1. We're going to read it. We're going to read a little bit here.
Okay, excellent.
With the hand of Yahweh up on me, Yahweh carried me out by his spirit, set me down in the middle of the valley, and it was full of bones. He had me pass by all around them. There were so many bones lying in the valley, and they were so dry. He asked me, human being, can these bones live? I answered, Yahweh Elohim, only you know that. Then he said to me, prophesy over the bones. Say to them, dry bones, Hear what Yahweh has to say! Exclamation point. Let's stop the reading there for a minute.
Okay.
Now, you have never heard what I'm getting ready to say. You have, but the majority of our listening audience has never heard what I'm getting ready to say.
Okay, this sounds like seatbelt material. All right.
My opening to this little chapter, and I gave my little preacher mode there. Our forefathers, in whatever church we were in where we heard that message, did not know who the bones were or what the bones were associated with and what the prophet and what the Most High are dealing with here. So allow me to tell you.
Okay.
When we are absent, the Spirit of the Most High. Now, you got to understand when I talk about the Spirit, I'm not talking about a Shikamasha and a Hikamaha, and I've been there, done that.
Okay.
I was raised in an apostolic Pentecostal church, so you all know in order for me to be saved and do anything, I had to be baptized in Jesus' name. I had to speak in tongues as the Spirit of God gave utterance.
And that's that Tarian.
Yes, I did all of that.
Tarian too.
Until I came up with a language. I'm not sure if it was today. I'm not sure if it was inspired by the Most High or if I just wanted to get up out of the Terry room and get saved so everybody else could tell me I was saved so I could get on with my business.
There you go.
Okay? So, these bones are indicative of Israel because Israel is in a state of dryness. She's in a wilderness. She is dispersed amongst the nations. She's without a temple, without a kohanim, without her language, without the mitzvot. She doesn't even know the mitzvots.
No. None of them.
She's dry.
Or some of them.
She's dry. She doesn't have the Spirit of the Most High. Now, to have the Spirit of the Most High, you have to have His Word. His Word is Spirit.
That's right.
His word came from, He's a Spirit. He spoke to the prophets. He spoke to Moshe, told them, I'm Spirit. I'm telling you, you're the mouthpiece. Tell my people, give them these words. So Spirit spoke to Moshe. Moshe and the prophets spoke what the Spirit said to them. So there's a Spirit. So when we engage and make our lives, when our lives are melded together with the opulent Spirit and we're walking according to His rules and His regulations, now we are imbibed with His Spirit. Now His Spirit is within us and His function. It has got nothing to do. It has nothing to do with an emotion other than the fact that you may become emotional at the fact that you've turned from wickedness to the Most High. And that might cause you some feeling of emotion.
Yes.
But obtaining the Spirit of the Most High is not about an emotion. It's about learning.
Yes.
And turning.
Yes. Knowledge and wisdom.
And obeying. So Ezekiel 37 is all about these bones, which happens to be Israel, that are dry in the valley.
Okay.
So he says, prophesy over these bones and say to them, dry bones, hear what Yahweh has to say. Who? Hear what Yahweh has to say.
Okay.
It didn't say hear what Jesus has to say. It says hear what the Lord. Now your Greek text may say hear what the Lord has to say. And I need you to understand something. If you don't hear anything else tonight, hear this. Everywhere in your text where it says Lord, if we go back to the Hebrew scroll is going to use the letters Yod He Vav He. Yod He Vav He is the Tetragrammaton, which is the name of the Most High, which we happen to call Yahweh, Yahweh, or Yahuwah. Depends on what pronunciation you want to use. So what they've done is they've taken this name Lord, and they've taken, in the Hebrew text, they've taken the word Adonai, and they've covered up the real name of the Most High so that people don't know what it is. Now, the Jews do it because they think that the name of the Most High is too sacred to speak.
Correct. Right. Yes, that is a.
But
yeah,
and I've heard some of you Christians say that. Well, I heard that speaking the name was too sacred to me. Well, you heard that from the people that we're now having a problem with. It's called the Ashkenazi Jews.
That's true. That's
what
very
do they
true.
know?
What
do they know? Mm-hmm. So we debunk the situation. So your text is going to say, hear what the Lord has to say. But that Lord, if I go back to the scroll, is going to be Yod He Vav He, Yahweh. So let's hear what Yahweh has to say.
All right.
To these bones, Yahweh Elohim, okay, Yahweh, the Mighty One, says, I will make breath enter you, and you will live. I will attach ligaments to you, make flesh grow on you, cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you will live, and you will know that I am Yahweh. Now, that language that's there is it has two elements to it. It has one element that's a metaphor or an allegory, and then it has another which is spiritual. So we have to deal because of how it is. We have to deal with it in the context of both ways, which we don't usually go off and spiritualize things.
Correct.
But we have to deal with this text in that context because it's also referring to the fact that the majority, there is a lot of Hebrew Israel that's in the grave. And if we go and we look at Daniel chapter 12, Daniel chapter 12 talks about the revivification from the dust. So this text fits the idea that the Most High, he says, I'm going to attach your ligaments to you, because if you're in the grave, your body and all the body, everything that's held the body together and the bones has decayed away to dust. So now he has to redo all of that. So in the revivification from the dust, this is what's going to happen. I will attach ligaments to you, make flesh grow on you, cover you with skin, and put breath in you. You will live, and then you will know that I am Yahweh. Now, from a spiritual perspective, we have the rattling of the bones, which happens to be Hebrew Israel. And right now, right this day, the bones are rattling. They're making a noise. They're trying to revive.
Yes.
They're trying to know themselves.
Yes.
The Most High is saying, okay, I will make breath enter you. Now, this word breath here in the text, I will make my spirit enter you, and you will live. So now, with the rattling of the bones and with the awakening that you are finding out that you're Hebrew Israel, the Most High has to put his spirit in you to get you to finish the aspect of your revelation. What's the revelation? Well, the revelation is I'm Hebrew. What comes with that? We talked about this in our last podcast. What comes with that? What comes with that is the understanding that the Most High wants you, now that you've discovered yourself, to turn back to his rules, his instructions, and his mitzvot. So now he says, so I prophesied as ordered, and while I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound. It was the bones coming together, each bone in its proper place. As I watched, ligaments grew on them, flesh appeared, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. So what we're saying, there was no spirit in them. So now while we have this rattling and we have this awakening, there's yet no breath in them. There's no spirit in them. They have the spirit of pneuma, which is the breath that we breathe, but they don't have the breath of the Spirit of the Most High, which awakens the mind beyond the discovery of who I am to bring me back to the center where I understand what his rulings and what his instructions are.
Okay.
So now, Sean.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here we sit every week. And guess what we're doing?
Trying to
breathe. What are we doing, Sean?
Life into these dry bones.
What are we doing, Sean?
Is that what we're doing?
We're prophesying to the dry bones. Come from the four winds, breath, and breathe on these slain so that they can live. So I prophesied as ordered, and breath came into them, and they were alive. They stood up on their feet, a huge army. Then he said to me, human being, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Didn't I tell you they were Israel?
Listen, that's what I was saying, because when you had made mention earlier, you said when this was being taught to us back in the day, we must have just left that whole entire piece out, because he gives you the culmination of what this actually means at the very end.
And
wow.
They are saying our bones have dried up, our hope is gone, and we are completely cut off. Therefore, prophesy and say to them that Yahweh Elohim says, my people, I will open your graves and make you get up out of your graves, and I will bring you into a land of Israel. Then you will know that I am Yahweh when I have opened your graves and made you get up out of your graves. My people, I will put my spirit in you and you will live. So once again, there is the realization that this particular part of Ezekiel deals with the revivification of the dead of Hebrew Israel, literally, and it has the restoration of these bones, not only but taking on ligaments and flesh, but also him breathing into them not just the pneuma so that they can live, but his spirit so that they can live.
Okay.
And then I will do what? I will place them in your own land, and you will know that I am Yahweh. I have spoken, and that I have done it, says Yahweh.
Oh, my goodness. See, now I got to stop you, because I was waiting for you to get to that next part where he was going to place us back in our place where we have our real estate, where our nation is,
right.
where we are supposed to be culminated at the end of the day.
Right.
So this is how many thousands of years ago this was written?
Yeah, and see,
this is relevant now.
It's relevant now. You see, and there's two. Like I said, there's two aspects. There is the literal aspect, and then there's the spiritual aspect.
Absolutely,
because the bones are rattling.
They are.
You know, when we say the bones are rattling, that means that Hebrew Israel in exile is coming to realize that Negroes are coming to realize that I'm Hebrew.
It's correct. That's correct.
But now with that comes the responsibility of what does it mean to be Hebrew.
Now, there we go.
And what it means to be Hebrew, the Most High says, I'm going to open your graves, and I will put my spirit in you. Listen, there's no doubt in my mind that a documentary that was done a couple of years ago,
yeah,
has come to light now in such a force that melanated people are walking around saying, we're not anti-Semitic, we're Hebrews. Now, The only Ashkenazis that are having a problem with it are the Zionists. The Zionists.
And they're saying, because of the, go ahead, come on, elaborate on that. They're mad because of why? Or they're having a problem?
Well, the Zionists are mad because of a lot of things.
Okay.
A lot of things. They are mad because of the Palestinians in this so-called land. They're mad about that. They're not purists. Now, remember, we said that we hadn't heard any of the rabbis come out against what's going on.
Which is quite counterintuitive, because the rabbis that have come out have affirmed this. So we haven't seen anything from the Ashkenazi, which I agree with you, or the Sephardic community that says this information is wrong and pointing to any type of text in our Constitution that says to support that idea. No data has been brought forth by that community.
They are not the Orthodox Jews.
Okay, come on.
You see, you can't. Ashkenazism is a class. It has classes within it. You have Orthodox, you have unorthodox. Okay? You have traditional, you have non-traditional.
Okay.
So there are two different factions of Ashkenazism. Okay? Which is the reason why in some instances I can look at some of their material, and when I read it, I can tell the difference. I can tell the difference in what's being presented versus when I look at something that I know is Orthodox and Zionist. I can tell. We have. I mean, it's on YouTube. I mean, all these rabbis that are affirming that the melanated man and the African American, and not only us, but Africans that have been dispersed all over this earth, are the original Hebrews.
Sure.
And they've validated that the Limba tribe their DNA maps back to the DNA of Aharon and what have you, and these people have never deviated from Torah or being who they are. So they've already expounded that. But I know the difference when I'm reading material that's Ashkenazium and that's unorthodox. There is a gentleman that we studied a few years ago. I forget the first name. The last name is Lieberhoff. I think.
Lieberhoff?
Yeah. We studied him, and they are what we call Chassidics.
Okay.
The Chassidics, the Chassidim, the Chassidics. The Chassidics are a different breed of Ashkenazis. They're very.
This is devout.
Oh, they're very devout. They're very devout. When you read them, it's almost like reading Maché. They're very devout. They're very strict in their relationship and their functionality with the Most High. Very good study. We did that We did that when we were over before we moved into this building a few years back.
Okay, we're back on stock.
Yeah. So you can't. What you can't do, you can't throw all of them in the same bag and call them all bad apples. That's not the case.
Okay.
But you have the Zionists that are screaming, "Oh, you're anti-Semitic." Well, no, I'm not. And as our dear brothers said, I can't be anti-Semitic against myself.
Right.
And in our podcast, where we did our podcast Hebrews to Negroes, that one we laid out. I think we laid it out pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be very tough to, as the defense, to come against this prosecution.
Yeah,
and come up with a counter argument to debunk it.
I think we laid it out. We laid it out pretty good.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to address this because there's a rattling of the bones. There's an awakening of Hebrew Israel in the four corners of the earth that the Most High has dispersed them. Somebody has got to be the prophet to prophesy to them.
Sure.
And I think, I think that one of these days, I may not be here, but one of these days, as these podcasts live in their respective place, that somebody's going to hear our voice and realize that we have spoken truth. Mm-hmm. And we haven't spiritualized it, but we have told you exactly what the Most High thinks and given you a way of living that's germane to being a Hebrew. You were going to say?
No, I think it's a great, to piggyback on what you were saying, we're in a particular point of, or dispensation of time where the Most High is allowing us to see, like you said, these dry bones starting to rattle. And what I had made mention of before was that it's a great turn in the right direction. We're probably going to be here for a minute on this, but it's a great turn in the right direction for the melanated Hebrew that is in exile. But the thing that we need to do is we need to start stepping in the right direction. And part of the roadblock in front of us is dealing with the elephant that continues to be in the room, because granted, it's a beautiful thing to make the connection, to finally find out who you are and who you're connected to and what that's about. But then you have to deal with these fail-safes. If this is a military movie, it'd be like, deploy the fail-safe. When all else fails, we got to hit the fail-safe button. And I feel like, quite as it's kept, Christianity is that fail-safe for a lot of us, because they say, yeah, granted, I make that connection now, but you still are going to have to acquiesce to, because the Most High is not going to move until we come together as a community. As speaking as a statesman and a civil servant in the community of the Hebrew Israelites, the real Hebrew Israelites, the Most High is not going to move on our behalf or send us any type of national relief. See how I'm using these terms that speak of us as a nation and not as this religious thing. In order for us to move forward, we're going to have to acquiesce to these mitzvot. We're going to have to get these things down within our spirit that shows the Most High that, yes, we're stepping in the right direction, and it's time for us to re-inherit where we need to be.
Oh man, and the problem with that is that we get it back to something we've talked about earlier in other podcasts, is that we started addressing the mitzvot, and we hit a few of them, then we jumped off them because we got so much else to talk about, this current event and what have you. Mm-hmm. But I am desperately trying to get the handbook done with all of the mitzvot that are germane to Hebrews in exile, just the ones that are pertinent to the exile and not the ones that are pertinent to in the land. I'm trying to get it done, and it seems like I'm hitting roadblocks.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a good study
because you need this.
To have. Yeah.
You need this. You need this. But in the meantime, until something comes out, you have text to read.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Now, the problem with reading text is that you'll read text and you'll read right through a mitzvah because you don't know it's a mitzvah.
Right.
But to keep it simple for you, everything that the Most High has commanded Israel to do is a mitzvah.
That's correct.
And it's far greater than Exodus chapter 20.
Mm-hmm.
Exodus chapter 20 is just it's not those are not the mitzvot.
That's true.
Those are the wedding vows that the Most High spoke to Israel when he married her there at Mount Sinai. That's what those are. The mitzvot are in chapter 34 and beyond.
I got to do this. And I apologize to you.
Why? You ain't apologize.
I got to do this.
We share it together. You ain't to apologize to me for it.
Because you might have to rebuke me after this one. I'm going to ask you a question. Because I'm realizing I'm going to use a big word here, the gravitas, how gargantuan these mitzvot are and how important they are. Let me ask you a question. Can the Most High just simply do anything that he wants to do?
Absolutely.
Can he?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, no, so I'm baiting you into something.
Well, I know. Here's the thing. The Most High can do anything that he wants to do, but he's never going to invalidate his own laws, rules, and statutes.
So that is the epiphany that I had, is that the mitzvot are so powerful that the Most High is bound by them as well. Not only are you bound by them, but so is the Most High.
Oh, man.
So the Most High can't simply just say, because I made this vow with our ancestor Abraham and his people messed up, that I can just do whatever I want to do at this particular point. I have to honor what I said. That means that the mitzvot are at a level, even though it's the Most High Spirit. He can't go against himself. So anytime that we're enacting these things, the mitzvot, we're acting in the spirit of the Most High. He can't go against himself. He just can't do whatever he wants to do. And I'm going to tell you what, we get a clear example of that when our ancestor, the GOAT, the greatest of all time of prophets, Moshe, goes up on the mountain and he has this conversation with the Most High and he says, listen, I'm going to wipe them all out. And Moshe has to remind him, listen, you can't do that. So for those of you that are across the street that somehow want to reconcile things that are hypocrisy, that don't make sense, will say, okay, well, the Most High gets to do whatever he wants to do. That's not true. He's bound by the mitzvos just like you are. And that is why I'm saying the respect for the mitzvot has to be at a higher level. It just can't be, well, okay, I'm just going to just break them just because I can. I know that we're here in practice, here in this dispensation of time. But even at that same time, we've got to hold these mitzvot in higher reverence than they are. Because it's the only way that, number one, we're going to get back to where we need to be. And again, my revelation was, man, I look at him different now. Because I realize that the Most High is bound by them too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I was getting off base off track.
No, you're not. You're not. I mean, you're taking me, man. Okay, I got to go.
All right, come on.
I got to go. Proverbs.
All right. Where we at in Proverbs?
Chapter 8.
All right, let me get there. All right.
And we're going to start here. I'm not going to read it all. I'm going to jump down. I'm going to read it. But I need to open it with this precipice, because when we talk about the book of Proverbs, as you're talking about these mitzvot, Proverbs is all about the mitzvot.
Sure.
And Proverbs is all. Now remember something. When we talk about mitzvot, we're talking about wisdom. Okay?
Okay.
What's the beginning of wisdom?
It's to get it.
It's to get it. To get wisdom. Okay? So So the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. Now, the question becomes one, well, what is this? Because most people will read this text and they will not equate what wisdom is within the context of the mind of the Most High.
Okay.
And they think that they're taught that everything is talking about human wisdom. The Most High is not talking about human wisdom in the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is talking about the wisdom that is derived by an individual whose knowledge base centers around the Torah, the laws, and the instructions. So listen to what he says. We're going to read here. Proverbs chapter 8.
Right.
Mishle, Hebraically, it's Mishle. Wisdom is calling. Understanding is raising her voice. Okay? Wisdom and understanding. Wisdom and understanding both go with and are centered and are tied to this idea of rules and instructions. Okay?
There we go.
People, okay, on the heights along the road where the paths meet, she is standing. Who? Wisdom and understanding. By the gates leading into the city, at the entrance she cries aloud. People, I am calling you, raising my voice to all mankind. You who don't direct your lives, understand caution. As for you fools, get some common sense.
Get some common sense.
Okay? Now, so now, I'm not going to read all of this because I want to get down to something else, but it's a long chapter. So he's telling us exactly what mitzvos and rulings and instructions are. They're wisdom and understanding. Where are they? They're standing where? They're in the gates. They're in the entrance. They're at the cry of the city. Where is this happening? The Most High is not hiding his mitzvos from us. He's not hiding things from us. Now, you talk about the Most High. Can the Most High do anything? He can do anything he wants to do, but he'll never violate his own word. So let's listen to him say what he says in verse 22.
Okay.
And wisdom's talking. This is wisdom. This is mitzvos and rulings and regulations and precepts. This is wisdom talking. Yahweh made me as the beginning of his way, the first of his ancient works.
Yeah.
I was appointed before the world, before the start, before the earth's beginnings. When I was brought forth, there was no ocean depths, no springs brimming with water. I was brought forth before the hills. So let me stop there.
All right.
He can't be talking about Jesus Christ.
Right.
Come on, people.
Yeah, no
I
way.
was brought forth before the hills, before the mountains had settled in place. He had not yet made the earth, the fields, or even the earth's first grains of dust. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew the horizon circle on the deep, when he set the skies above its place, when the fountains of the deep poured forth, when he prescribed boundaries for the sea so that the water would not transgress its command, when he marked out the fountains of the earth, I was with him as someone he could trust. What's he talking about? Wisdom and understanding. For me, every day was pure delight. I played in his presence all the time, playing everywhere on his earth and delighting to be with humankind. Therefore, children, listen to me. Listen to who? Wisdom. Happy are those who keep my ways. Ways. Now, you have to ask a question here. What ways? What ways? Ways. Keep my ways. Happy are those who keep my ways. His ways are his rulings and his instructions that Moshe says in Devarim chapter 4, this is what the Most High ordered me to teach Hear instruction and grow wise, and do not refuse it. I'm going to stop the reading there.
My goodness.
Because when you ask me the question, can Yah do anything he wants? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But he's never going to go outside the parameter of himself.
That's right.
And himself is spirit, and himself is rulings and instructions and ways. So, watch this now.
Wow.
As high as the Most High is above the Eretz, and as the prophet Yeshayahu said, I saw him, and he was high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. It's a metaphor. He's high and lifted up. If the one who is high and lifted up has respect for himself, and then he declares to you and I, be like me. Be set apart as I'm set apart. Be set apart as I'm set apart. And the set apartness is not about how you dress. It's about his ways, his rulings, and his instructions. Well, I don't know.
No, that's it.
Well,
I'm gonna put this one up there with the previous one, Jack.
Let's drop the mic tonight and let's say this has been Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr. and
Sean Appleton.
And this has been
Hebrews in Exile. Shalom.